One more parcel. Mrs. Pym said it under her breath. The day had been long. Her pen scratched across the registry book. Neat, precise, always the same. She glanced at the clock. Nearly 6. Closing time. She liked order. She liked endings to be tidy. The door creaked. Mr. Oliver Bedchester stepped inside, well-dressed, calm, carrying a small leather case. He smiled politely. "Good evening, Mrs. Pym." His voice smooth. She returned the nod. "Another registered item, Mr. Bedchester?" "Yes," he said. He opened the case. Inside, a small box, velvet covering. He held it carefully. Mrs. Pym set the ledger ready. Her fingers rested on the lined page. Columns for names, columns for numbers. Her world was boxes and rules. Bedchester placed the parcel on the counter. "A miniature portrait," he explained softly. He always explained. She never asked. Miss Marple stood by the window. She often came in at this hour, collecting letters, watching faces, quiet, unnoticed. Nancy Rake, the young clerk, stood nearby. She looked tired. Ink smudges on her fingers. She handled the stamps with speed. She avoided looking at Bedchester too long. Mrs. Pym turned the parcel over, checked the seal, checked the string. She was thorough. "Weight?" she asked. Bedchester answered. 12.5 ounces. She wrote it down. Her handwriting never faltered. He leaned against the counter, polished, relaxed. But his eyes darted once, quickly, toward Miss Marple. Marple noticed. She said nothing. She only adjusted her spectacles. The book lay open. Mrs. Pym entered the details. RL 317, the next number in line. She reached for the sponge. Her hand stopped. The dish was empty. Her brow creased. It should have been there. It was always there. She looked at Nancy. "Where's the sponge?" Nancy blinked. I don't know. It was here earlier." Bedchester coughed lightly. Perhaps mislaid. His tone casual. Too casual. Mrs. Pym frowned. Her order was broken. Her routine disturbed. She lifted the label, gummed back, waiting. Dry. It needed moisture. She hesitated. Rules mattered. Neatness mattered. But the sponge was gone. Miss Marple watched her carefully, saw the pause, saw the doubt. Nancy bit her lip. The silence thickened. Bedchester's hand rested on his case. He looked calm, too calm. Mrs. Pym sighed. She held the label up. She leaned forward, her decision made. No sponge, no choice. Her tongue touched the gum. She pressed it down. The book closed with a snap. She never knew. She never guessed. The sponge was missing. The sponge was missing. No sponge, no choice. Mrs. Pym pressed the label down. Her tongue still tasted of glue. She disliked the taste. But work came first. Always first. She adjusted her spectacles, checked the parcel again. Seal tight. Address clear. Her hand steady. Bedchester leaned closer. "Ensure it's registered, please. A valuable piece." His tone soft. Too soft. She nodded. Nancy moved forward. She reached for the ledger. But Bedchester spoke quickly. "Young lady, may I trouble you?" She turned to him. "Yes, sir. Do you have thinner twine here, or perhaps stronger paper?" He smiled faintly. Distracting. Deliberate. Nancy looked to the shelves. She stepped away from the ledger, her attention broken. Mrs. Pym noticed. She disliked disorder. She opened the ledger herself, entered the weight, 12.5 ounces, RL 317, her hand smooth. Bedchester's case rested on the counter, his hand on the lid. He watched her closely. Eyes quick, hidden intent. Nancy returned with a roll of string. "No, not necessary," Bedchester said smoothly. "Only a question. Thank you." Nancy flushed. Her eyes dropped. Mrs. Pym frowned slightly. She passed the book across. "Sign here." Her voice firm, businesslike. Bedchester signed. Slow strokes. Careful. Precise. He knew how to write without shaking. Nancy glanced at the book, the counterfoil torn out. Neat, placed aside, waiting. Mrs. Pym stamped the parcel. Loud, final thump. Her habit, each item marked, each rule followed. Miss Marple watched, silent as always, noted the pace, noted the exchange. She missed nothing. The room felt ordinary, but small things shifted. Too many pauses, too many glances. The pattern was wrong. Mrs. Pym wiped her hands. She closed the book. Ledger done. Day nearly ended. Her duty complete. Nancy reached for the counterfoil. Her sleeve brushed the inkstand. She steadied it quickly. No spill. But Marple noticed the tremor. Bedchester coughed lightly. Much obliged. His smile thin, eyes restless. He tapped the counter once. Mrs. Pym's pen slipped. She steadied it. A flicker of unease. Her lips pressed together. She disliked imperfection. The air thickened. Routine finished. But something off. She touched the ledger again. Her fingers trembled. Her face paled. Her shoulders stiffened. Nancy gasped. Marple's eyes narrowed. Slack silence followed. Mrs. Pym swayed. One step back, her hand clutching air. The counter blurred. Her knees buckled. The book slid sideways. Her voice caught. No words came. Her eyes wide. Her breath shallow. She swayed again. Heavier this time. Closer to the fall. Mrs. Pym swayed. Too fast to stop. Mrs. Pym staggered. Her knees buckled. The counter edge scraped her hand. She dropped, flat to the floor. Nancy screamed. High, sharp, unplanned. Her chair toppled. Ink bottle rattled. She clutched the desk. Bedchester stepped back. His case nearly fell. His eyes wide. His face pale. He muttered, "Good heavens." Miss Marple stayed still, her gaze steady. She noted every movement, every face, every sound. Nancy knelt beside the postmistress. "Mrs. Pym, Mrs. Pym." Her hands shook. She touched her shoulder. No response. Bedchester cleared his throat. I did nothing." His hands raised slightly, his voice nervous. Too quick. The door opened. Footsteps hurried. Mr. Pym appeared. Eyes confused. Mouth open. "What's happened?" he cried. Nancy sobbed. "She's fallen. She won't move." His face turned grey. He rushed forward. Miss Marple's hand rose. "Don't touch her yet." Her tone, calm, firm, commanding. Pym froze, breathing hard, staring at his wife. Silent, lost. Nancy wiped her face. Tears streaked her cheeks. She reached for Mrs. Pym's hand. Cold, limp. Bedchester leaned against the wall. He whispered again, I swear I only posted." No one answered. No one believed. A figure pushed inside, tall, brisk, direct. Dr. Haydock, summoned by a runner, bag in hand. He moved fast, kneeling at once. No hesitation. Eyes sharp, fingers searching, pulse. Nancy held her breath. Mr. Pym trembled. Marple folded her hands. Bedchester shifted uneasily. The room silent. Haydock bent lower, his ear close, checking breath, checking heartbeat, checking eyes. His brow tightened. His hand pulled back. He drew a small vial, uncorked it, sniffed gently. He leaned closer again, expression grave. He touched her lips. He touched the label scrap. His face changed. Miss Marple noticed. She always noticed. His eyes had narrowed. His jaw clenched. Something confirmed. Bedchester spoke again. "Is she alive?" His voice cracked. He looked around. No answer. Nancy sobbed louder. Mr. Pym whispered her name, shaking his head. Disbelief heavy, pain heavier. Marple's eyes lingered on the desk. The label, the ledger, the missing sponge. Too many pieces. Haydock leaned closer, one hand on the floor, one hand steady on the body. The others watched, waiting. He bent down, silent, focused, serious. Dr. Haydock bent over the body. Not natural. Dr. Haydock leaned closer. His nose almost touched her lips. He paused, sniffed once, sniffed again. His face stiffened, his eyes narrowed. He drew back. Marple caught the change. She said nothing. Nancy clutched Mrs. Pym's arm. "Is she gone?" Haydock pressed her wrist. No pulse, no warmth. Mr. Pym groaned. He buried his face in his hands. He rocked slightly, murmuring her name. Hopeless. Piesta stayed against the wall, breathing hard, eyes darting, trying to appear calm, failing. The door slammed. Inspector Slack entered, his hat askew, his boots wet. He scanned the room. "What's happened?" Nancy pointed. Her hand shook. She fell. She didn't get up. Her voice broke. Slack crouched, looked at the body, looked at Haydock, looked at Marple. "Dead." Haydock nodded slowly. "She's gone." Slack straightened. He barked orders. "Seal this office. Nobody leaves." Constable moved at once. Doors barred, curtains pulled. No one in, no one out. Outside, voices rose. Villagers gathered fast, whispers sharp, fear spreading. The crowd thickened. Someone shouted through the door. "What happened?" "What's wrong?" Slack growled. "Stand back." But the noise grew. Steps on gravel. Nancy wiped her eyes, her hands smudged with ink. She whispered. She was fine a moment ago. Her voice cracked again. She looked at Marple. Marple met her eyes, calm, quiet, unmoving. She said nothing. Beechester spoke at last. "This is terrible, terrible. I only wanted to post my parcel." His words too smooth, too ready. Slack noticed. Haydock still crouched, still examining. His fingers brushed the label. He sniffed again. He frowned deeper. Slack bent near him. "What is it, Doctor?" Haydock didn't answer. His eyes fixed on the gum, his face grave. Nancy whispered. The sponge was gone. Marple nodded faintly. A small agreement. Slack caught it. His brow furrowed. Outside, fists banged the door. The crowd restless, anxious, fearful, unruly. Slack turned to the constable. "Hold them back. Tell them nothing yet." The man saluted. Stepped out. Noise muffled. Inside, silence returned. Every breath heavy. Every eye waiting. Every thought dark. No answers yet. Haydock finally spoke. Low. Quiet. Almost reluctant. Almost pained. His lips close to Slack's ear. His whisper short. Sharp. Final. Haydock whispered. "Poison. Strange entries." Miss Marple leaned closer to the desk. The ledger lay open. She tilted her head. Her eyes moved slowly. She read every line, ink dark on the page. But one entry stood out. Violet. Not the usual black. She tapped it softly. Nancy noticed. Her cheeks flushed. I lent my pen." Her voice shook. She looked down. "To whom?" Marple asked. Nancy hesitated. "To Mr. Beechester," he asked quickly. Said he needed it. Her hands wrung together. She swallowed hard. Slack frowned. "Why use another pen?" Nancy shook her head. "I don't know," he just asked. Her words thin. Marple traced the line again. "RL 317. Parcel weight neat. Signature neat. But ink wrong." Her eyes drifted. To the blotter on the counter. A corner lifted. Paper crumpled. Something hidden. She slid it aside. A red label. Half creased. Pin stuck through. Not in the book. Nancy gasped. "That shouldn't be there." Her hand flew to her mouth. "I didn't leave it." She stepped back. Marple studied it. The gum side dull. Edges uneven. Marks faint. Traces of violet. Slack leaned close. "What is it?" Marple answered softly. "A label, but not used properly." Her voice calm. Nancy whispered again. "I remember now." He placed his portfolio there, on the counter, near the labels. She breathed quickly. "I thought nothing of it." Her eyes darted to Slack. Marple's fingers brushed the blotter. Small holes appeared, tiny, precise, as if pricked by a pin. Slack's jaw tightened. Pins. Why pins? Marple's lips pressed, thin, to hold something in place, just long enough. Her words quiet. Nancy trembled. She hugged her arms. He asked me for twine. I left for only a moment. Her face pale, her eyes filled. Marple nodded gently, her tone soft. Moments matter, child. Always moments. Nancy looked down. Tears slipped. Mr. Pym groaned again. He muttered about his wife. His voice cracked, the room heavy, the silence deeper. Slack picked up the label, turned it in his fingers, studied the marks, then looked at Marple, his eyes sharp. She only said, "Small details reveal large truths." Her hand rested on the blotter, her gaze steady, her mind racing. The counter seemed ordinary, but nothing ordinary remained. Routine shattered, order broken, trust gone. Then Marple's eyes caught something else. On the counter, wood, tiny holes, perfect line, unmistakable. Pinholes spotted on the counter, one parcel missing. Eddie Pike entered the office, sack heavy on his shoulder. He set it down, breathing hard, eyes wide at the silence. Slack pointed, "Bring it here." Eddie dragged it forward, rope untied, canvas opened. Slack bent over, pulled bundles out, ordinary letters, a stack of circulars, 2 registered items. He held them up, RL 315, RL 316. He checked the slips. Names matched, weights matched. Marple stepped closer, her eyes sharp, her voice low. "And RL 317? Slack shook his head. Eddie frowned. I carried the sack straight, from here to the cart, then to the sorting clerk, same as always. His voice strained, defensive, scared. Nancy clutched the ledger. "But I saw her enter RL 317. She wrote it herself. I stamped the counterfoil. She trembled. Her lips quivered. Her eyes darted. Slack growled. Then where is it?" The room silent. Every face tense. Every thought dark. The constable returned, sorting clerk beside him, paper sheets in hand. He saluted Slack. "Only 2. Received, sir." Slack grabbed the paper, scanned it fast. "Confirmed. RL 315. RL 316. Nothing else." He looked up, his eyes hard. Bechester coughed softly. "This is outrageous." I handed the parcel myself. She weighed it. She wrote it down. He spread his hands, face set, voice controlled. Marple studied him, her gaze steady, his words too polished, his calm too sharp. She said nothing. Mr. Pym muttered. She never lost a parcel. Not once. Not in 40 years. His voice cracked. Pride and grief. He shook his head. Nancy whispered again. She signed it. I saw the label fixed. Her words faint. Her hands shook. She looked at Marple. Marple replied softly. Yes. She signed. But where it went, that is the question. Her eyes lingered on Bechester. He looked away. Too quickly. Slack's jaw tightened. He spoke slowly. Either it vanished into thin air, or someone made sure it never entered the sack. His tone flat, his meaning clear. Eddie shifted uneasily. I swear I never touched it. Never. His voice rose, his fists clenched. Slack glared. Nancy backed away, her face pale, her eyes wet, the room heavy, the air thick. Marple placed her hand on the ledger, her voice calm. Parcels do not vanish. They are removed. By design. Her words sharp, her meaning sharper. Silence spread, each face unsettled, each thought darker. The ledger stared back, the entry too neat. Slack tapped the page. Insurance crossed his mind. A valuable miniature. A missing parcel. A dead postmistress. Insurance fraud suspected. Another number appears. Slack pressed the ledger flat. His finger traced the page. He stopped, eyes narrowed. RL, 318. He read aloud. 18 ounces. Addressed to London. Logged after 317. He looked at Nancy. When was this done? She froze. Her face drained. I never entered that. I never saw that parcel. Her voice thin. Her hands shook. Her eyes wide. Slack. Tapped the ink. Same violet. Same neat hand. But not hers. Too steady. Nancy whispered again. I wasn't at the desk. I went for string. I wasn't here. Her breath quick. Her guilt heavy. Her fear deeper. Bachester shifted. I assure you, Inspector, I saw no such parcel. My concern was only my own. He spoke calm. Too calm. Slack noticed. Marple leaned closer. Her glasses caught the ink. Her eyes sharp. Her voice gentle. 2 numbers side by side. 1 real, 1 false. Slack growled. So who wrote this second? His finger jabbed the page. The weight precise. The letters uniform. Nancy shook her head. Not me. I swear it. I never touched that line. Her voice cracked. Her lip trembled. She stepped back. Eddie frowned. Never heard of it either. We had only 2 parcels when I left. 2 only. His fists clenched, his tone urgent, his eyes defiant. Mr. Pym muttered. She was exact. She never made extra entries. Not once. His head dropped. His voice broke. Grief sharper than words. Slack closed the ledger. Then someone else made this entry. After she wrote 317. After she fell. He looked around. Suspicion heavy. Silence heavier. Bachester cleared his throat. Surely you don't suggest... Slack cut him short. I suggest nothing. I observe facts. His glare fixed. Marple tilted her head. Her words quiet. A false record covers a false act. Someone wanted confusion. 2 parcels hide one. Her meaning plain. Her gaze steady. Nancy whispered again. It looks like her hand, but it's not hers. She wiped her eyes. Her voice soft. Her fear growing. Slack slammed the book shut, the sound sharp, final, unforgiving. He faced the group. 1 parcel gone, another invented, a dead postmistress, a fraud in motion. His words hard, the truth rising, the room tense, the trap forming. Marple folded her hands, her eyes lowered, her tone reflective. Deception leaves. Marks, Inspector. This one will not stay hidden. Her words calm, her heart heavy. Who entered the false record? Eyes on Eddie. Whispers filled the office. Villagers outside muttered. Inside, eyes turned to Eddie. The boy shifted uneasily. He clenched his fists. Slack stepped closer. You were near the counter. Eddie swallowed hard. Yes, I was. His voice tight. Nancy gasped. You didn't tell me that. Her face pale. Her hands shook. Her trust faltered. Eddie shook his head. I did nothing wrong. I only waited. He looked at Slack. I was to collect telegrams. That's all. His words quick. Slack didn't move. You needed money, didn't you? The words sharp. The air heavy. The silence louder. Eddie flushed. Yes, but that doesn't mean this. His eyes dropped. His shoulders stiff, shame clear. Mr. Pym groaned. You stood close to her table, close enough to touch the labels. His grief bitter, his voice harsh. Eddie flinched. Nancy clutched her apron. He wouldn't. He couldn't. Her voice desperate. Her love plain. Her fear stronger. Slack leaned in. Did you see the ledger? Eddie hesitated. Shook his head. Number. I never looked. Slack's eyes narrowed. Then why admit standing there? Why not step back? Why not wait outside? His tone cutting, his glare fixed. Eddie shrank. Bachester smirked faintly. Suspicion is ugly, Inspector, but perhaps justified. His words smooth, his eyes sly. Marple caught it. Marple spoke softly. Eddie, what did you do with your hands? Did you touch anything? her tone calm, her gaze steady. Eddie shifted. I leaned on the counter, just for a moment. He rubbed his palms, his breath shallow, his eyes downcast. Nancy gasped again. Slack barked. Leaned where? Near the labels? Near the book? Eddie stammered. I don't know. Maybe. His words weak. The villagers' whispers grew, louder. Always short of money. Couldn't resist temptation. He was there at the wrong time. The murmur sharpened. Nancy shouted, "Stop it! He's not a thief!" Her cheeks wet, her voice raw, her body trembling. Slack ignored her. His eyes locked on Eddie. You admit being there. You admit touching the counter. And you admit needing money. His tone final. The trap set. Eddie trembled. He opened his mouth. Words stuck. His throat dry. His breath caught. Marple studied his face. She saw fear. She saw confusion. But not guilt. Her lips pressed thin. She whispered to herself, "Need does not always mean deed." Her eyes softened, her heart heavy, the truth still hidden. Eddie stammered, "Red wax dust." Miss Marple bent over the blotter. She touched the corner. Her finger lifted specks, tiny red grains. Wax. She rubbed them gently. Soft. Crumbling. Not ink. Not chalk. Wax dust. She looked at Slack. "See here." He bent close. His brow furrowed. He muttered low. Slack asked, "Who uses wax now?" Marple's eyes turned. "Ask Tom Ash. He would know." Slack nodded. Sent for him. Tom Ash arrived soon, hands still stained from his work. He greeted curtly. Slack wasted no time. "Do you know Bechester's habits?" Tom frowned. "Yes. He stays at the Blue Boar when he comes, always fussing with his letters, always sealing them with red wax. Brass seal in his pocket. Bronze powder, too. Likes to look grand." Slack pressed. "You're sure?" Tom nodded. "Seen it many times." Marple smiled faintly, her thought clear. Red wax dust, here on the counter. The link is plain. Her tone calm, her eyes sharp. Slack wrote in his notebook, evidence building, piece by piece, all pointing one way, one man. Nancy whispered. He stood there, leaning with his case. I saw the red stick once, thought it odd, but I said nothing. Her guilt heavy, her head lowered, her hands tight. Marple placed the ledger flat. Her finger pointed to the numbers. Weight, 12.5 ounces. Neat, too neat. Slack frowned. What do you mean? Marple explained softly. Mrs. Pym weighed carefully, always exact, but her lines showed small tremors with time. This one is straight, too clean, too steady, not hers. Slack stared, his lips pressed tight, his jaw set. He understood. Bechester's name hovered again. Too many ties, too many signs. Nancy glanced nervously. Eddie clenched his fists. Mr. Pym muttered from the corner. She never made errors, not once. She measured true, his grief plain, his faith firm, his voice cracked. Marple nodded gently. She measured true, but someone else measured false. Her tone soft, her meaning firm, her heart heavy. Slack shut the ledger with force, the sound sharp, the air tense. He turned to the group. The record is tampered. Nancy gasped. Eddie whispered, I told you. Tom Ash folded his arms. Slack glared at Bechester. Bechester stayed silent. Marple's eyes dropped to the blotter again. Wax dust, pinholes, false ink. Every mark spoke. She whispered to herself. Fraud begins small, a speck here, a stroke there, but it grows. Her lips tight, her gaze fixed, her sorrow deep. The fraud deepens. Why kill her? Lady Dolly Bantry spoke first, her tone sharp, her face unsettled. She looked at Marple. She wanted answers. She was a postmistress, old, careful, not rich. Why would anyone target her? Her hands fidgeted, her words quick, her suspicion clear, her doubt growing. Slack folded his arms. Insurance. That's enough. He spoke flat, his eyes hard, his mind set. Dolly shook her head. Insurance may explain the parcel. It doesn't explain her. Why poison her? Why risk the village watching? Why risk discovery? Her voice rose, her tone cut, her eyes bright. Nancy whispered. She was kind, always fair, never wrong. No one hated her. Her tears fresh, her grief raw, her loyalty deep. Eddie muttered low. She scolded me once for lateness, but that's nothing. Nothing worth this. His face red, his voice tight, his guilt plain. Mr. Pym groaned again. She lived for rules, for order, for duty. That's all she had. His voice cracked, his pain sharp, his eyes wet. Dolly leaned forward. So why? Why turn her routine into a trap? She looked at Slack, then at Marple, her frustration plain. Slack repeated, insurance, a valuable miniature. That's motive enough. But his words lacked force. His doubt lingered. His eyes betrayed him. Marple frowned. Her fingers touched the blotter again. Her voice soft. Money explains much, but not everything, not always. Her eyes narrowed. Dolly caught the tone. You think something else? Something hidden? Her voice sharp, her hope thin, her doubt heavy. Marple nodded slightly, her thoughts quiet, her words slow. Sometimes a death covers two debts, one financial, one personal. Her meaning pointed, her pause deliberate. Slack grunted. You mean spite? Revenge? Marple said nothing. Her lips pressed tight. Her silence enough. Nancy bit her lip, her fear deeper. Eddie shifted, his jaw clenched, his breath rough. Dolly's eyes widened. You believe she was silenced, not just for a scheme, but for a reason we don't yet see. Her voice shook, her words cut, her nerves raw. Marple didn't deny it. She looked at the ledger again. Her finger rested on RL 317. Her eyes dark, her frown deep. The room stilled. No one spoke. The thought heavier, the question sharper, the silence longer. Marple finally raised her head, her eyes steady, her tone calm. There may be another reason. There may be another reason. Old names return. Miss Marple sat with Dolly. Ledger pages spread before her. Notes taken down. Quiet talk between them. No one else listening. Dolly leaned close. What are you looking for? Marple adjusted her spectacles. Patterns. They always show. Her finger traced lines. She opened another record. Parish registers, marriage lines, burial notes, family trees. Mrs. Pym's maiden name appeared. Larkin. Marple whispered it. Soft, firm. Dolly frowned. Larkin, that sounds familiar. Marple nodded slowly. It should. A name tied to trade. Antiques, to be exact. Her tone steady. She pulled another slip. Old account notes. From the inn's books. Written years back. The name clear. Cousin Henry Larkin. Dealer in antiques. Frequent in London. Frequent in auctions. Known for debts. Marple tapped the name. Do you see? Dolly gasped. Wait. That was Bechester's associate once, wasn't it? Marple's eyes glinted. Yes, they shared dealings, records of sales, and records of unpaid sums. Her words crisp, her meaning sharp. Dolly paled. She understood. Marple leaned back. So the link is not new. It runs through family. Mrs. Pym's cousin owed money, and Bechester knew it. Her tone low, her mind racing. Slack entered. He caught the last words. What is this? Marple faced him calmly. Old debts. Old ties. Slack scowled. Explain. Marple showed the slip. Henry Larkin, cousin to Mrs. Pym, his debts tied to Bechester. Years passed. Her words clear. Slack read. His jaw tightened, his suspicion heavier, his gaze hard. The room silent. Dolly muttered. So he knew her family. He knew her connection. He wasn't just a customer. Her voice bitter. Her doubt real. Her fear plain. Marple added softly. Money unsettled. Debts unpaid. Old anger never cooled. One cousin dead. Another carrying the name. Still tied. Her eyes lowered. Her thought deep. Slack slammed the book shut. His voice cut. Then it wasn't just fraud. It was silencing. To erase ties. To end reminders. His tone, sharp. His suspicion fixed. Nancy whispered. She never spoke of it. Never told us. She kept it private. Her voice small. Her grief raw. Her loyalty intact. Mr. Pym sat still. His eyes red. She carried her duty. Never mentioned kin. But she remembered. She always remembered. His voice shook. His heart heavy. Marple's lips pressed thin. Her words soft. Debt travels through time, Inspector. It waits. It festers. Until someone decides to pay it back in another way. Her tone sad. Her meaning cold. She looked at Dolly. Her eyes steady. Her voice final. He owed her kin money. He owed her kin money. A portfolio misplaced. Nancy sat trembling. Her hands gripped the counter. Her eyes fixed on the ledger. Her breath shallow. Her mind racing. Marple spoke softly. Child, think back. What did he place on the counter? Nancy blinked. A case. His leather case. Her voice low. Where? Marple asked. Nancy hesitated. Right here. By the label drawer. Close to the blotter. Her hands moved unconsciously. She touched the spot. Slack leaned forward. Why there? Why not anywhere else? Nancy shook her head. I don't know. He said it was heavy. He rested it. That's all. Her tone unsteady. Marple nodded slowly. Think carefully. Did he ask anything of you? Nancy's lips parted. Her eyes widened. Yes, he did. Her voice trembled. He asked for string. Said the twine was too thin. I went to fetch it. She paused. Her memory sharp. Her fear sharper. Slack barked. How long were you gone? Nancy whispered. Half a minute. Maybe less. But long enough. Her head dropped. Dolly gasped. So he was alone. Alone at the counter. Alone by the labels. Her hand clutched her dress. Her tone urgent. Her eyes fierce. Nancy nodded weakly. When I came back, his case was still there. He thanked me, but he said no string was needed. Her voice cracked. Her hands shook. Her guilt grew. Slack slammed his fist down. That was the moment. The only moment he needed. His face dark. His voice hard. The truth sharper. Marple's tone stayed calm. Labels. Blotter. Pins. Wax. A simple switch. One poisoned. One prepared. All in half a minute. Her eyes fixed. Her thought firm. Her sorrow heavy. Nancy sobbed, softly. I didn't see. I didn't think. I left him alone. Her shoulders slumped. Her tears fell. Her shame deep. Mr. Pym muttered. She followed duty. She couldn't see deceit. Who would expect it in our office? His voice hollow. His grief raw. His pride broken. Marple touched his arm gently. Deceit hides in routine. That is its strength. Her words slow. Her tone heavy. Her meaning clear. Slack pulled the red label from his pocket. He held it up. Pins, holes, wax dust, violet ink, all match. The switch is proven. His eyes glared. His mind set. Nancy closed her eyes. Her lips moved. He planned it. He planned it before he walked in. I helped him without knowing. Her whisper weak. Her guilt sharp. Marple sighed softly. Her voice almost kind. You did not poison. You only fetched string. But yes, he used your absence. Her words firm. Her tone sad. The room grew still. Every face pale. Every thought grim. Every truth nearer. Every lie thinner. The poisoned one prepared. Trap set. Inspector Slack folded his arms. He faced Bechester squarely, his eyes sharp, his tone hard. Explain yourself. Bechester straightened his coat. I already did. I brought a parcel. She weighed it. She wrote it down. That is all. His words smooth. Too smooth. Slack narrowed his eyes. You claim you posted RL 317. Yes. You swear it entered the system. Yes. Bechester's voice steady. Slack slammed the ledger. Then why was it never in the sack? The words cut. The silence heavy. The doubt thicker. Bechester blinked. He forced a laugh. Clerical error. It happens. Slack leaned closer. Not with her. Never with her. Nancy spoke weakly. She entered it. I saw. But the sack held only 2, not 3. Her voice broke. Her body shook. Her eyes fell. Eddie added quickly. I carried the sack straight. No chance to drop it. No chance to hide it. His tone firm. His face red. His fists clenched. Mr. Pym muttered. She never failed. Not once in 40 years. Not once. His grief raw. His pride strong. His trust absolute. Bechester adjusted his sleeve. You cannot prove I lied. His voice calm. His smile faint. His mask thin. Slack leaned over the counter. Then, prove where it went. Show us. Explain the missing parcel. His words sharp. His demand clear. Bechester said nothing. Dolly whispered. He looks too calm. Too ready. Marple nodded slowly. Her eyes fixed on Bechester. Her silence deep. Slack pressed again. You signed. You sealed. You stood by. And then she died. How convenient. His tone cold. His glare fierce. The trap tightening. Bechester snapped. I had nothing to do with her death. His voice high. His hands shook. His calm cracked. Marple raised her hand. Her tone soft. Her words quiet. But RL 317 never entered the post office bags. That is fact. Her eyes steady. Slack turned quickly. Say that again, Marple repeated. It never left this room. Never touched the cart. Never reached sorting. Her voice firm. Nancy whispered. I saw the entry, but not the parcel in the sack. Her guilt heavy. Her memory sharp. Her eyes wet. Eddie nodded. I counted 2. Always 2. Never 3. His tone final. His gaze steady. His truth plain. Slack slammed his hand down. You see, Bechester? The lie is open. The trap is shut. His tone hard. His glare fierce. The silence thick. Bechester's face drained. His lips parted. His eyes flicked. His mask broke. His breath shallow. Bechester went pale. Gum tells truth. Inspector Slack laid out the papers. Everyone gathered close. The lab report in his hand. His voice steady. His tone cold. Cyanide. He said it flat. The gum on the label carried cyanide. Enough to kill instantly. Gasps filled the room. Nancy covered her mouth. Eddie muttered, That's why she fell. That's why so fast. His fists clenched, his jaw tight, his eyes burning. Slack continued. Fingerprints were tested, wax residue checked, the seal examined. He held up the brass imprint, a faint crest, the evidence damning. Tom Ash stepped forward. I told you. He used wax, always red wax, always sealing letters like a lord. His words harsh, his eyes fierce, his certainty strong. Slack nodded. The prints on the wax belonged to Bechester, no one else. His hand, his seal. He set the paper down, the proof clear, the silence heavy. Nancy whispered, And the counterfoil? Slack raised another slip. The counterfoil traced to his hand. Same ink. Same pressure. No doubt. He tapped the page. Bechester tried to smile. It failed. His lips trembled. His eyes darted. His calm gone. I only followed the rules, he muttered, his voice low, his words thin. Slack cut him short. You followed nothing but greed. Mr. Pym groaned. his face grey, his voice hollow. She trusted the rules. They killed her. Tears streaked his cheeks. Dolly's hand trembled. So all the signs, the ink, the wax, the weight, all pointed here. Her voice sharp, her doubt gone, her anger clear. Marple spoke softly. Proof waits in the smallest places. Wax dust, a pinhole, a line too neat. All threads tie back. Her tone calm, her gaze steady, her truth final. Slack's eyes narrowed. He stepped closer to Beechester. You poisoned the label, you swapped the parcel, you wrote the false line, and you thought no one would see. His words hard, his patience gone. Beechester shook his head. I deny it. I deny everything. His voice cracked, his hands shook, his breath shallow. Slack slammed the desk. Deny all you like. The gum speaks, the wax speaks, the counterfoil speaks, and they all name you. His glare burned, his voice fierce, his trap shut. Marple folded her hands, her words quiet. Fraud may cover debts, but murder uncovers the soul. Her tone sad, her eyes lowered. Beechester sagged against the wall, his face pale, his strength drained, his silence damning, his mask gone. Slack turned sharply, his command final, his voice loud, his decision clear. Slack ordered the arrest. Details never lie. All eyes turned to Miss Marple. She sat calm, her hands folded, her voice steady, her eyes sharp. The method was simple, she began, simple, yet cruel. He removed the sponge. Without it, Mrs. Pym was forced to lick the label. Her tone even, her words precise. The room silent. Dolly gasped softly. Nancy looked down. Eddie clenched his fists. Mr. Pym groaned. Slack nodded grimly. Marple continued. While Nancy fetched string, Beechester rested his case near the labels. He pinned a poisoned one in place. He waited. When Mrs. Pym returned, she used it. She sealed her own death. Her words cut, her meaning clear, her sorrow heavy. She lifted the blotter. The holes show the pins. The wax dust shows his seal. The violet ink shows his hand. Her tone calm, her proof firm, her truth final. Slack growled. And the false RL, 318, Marple explained softly. A distraction. Entered quickly in violet ink. To confuse the record. To make it seem a mistake. But Mrs. Pym never entered it. He did. Her voice certain. Nancy trembled. I should have seen. I should have noticed. Her tears fell. Her voice cracked. Her shame raw. Marple shook her head gently. You saw what he wanted. Deceit is built on distraction. You are not to blame. Her words kind, her tone firm, her gaze steady. Mr. Pym muttered. She trusted her rules. She died for them. His grief sharp, his eyes wet, his faith shattered. Marple turned to him. Rules kept her life steady, but they also exposed deceit. Without her order, the truth would stay hidden. Her tone soft, her heart heavy, her respect plain. Dolly leaned closer. But why her? Why kill her? He could have forged alone. Her voice urgent, her doubt strong, her fear clear. Marple's frown deepened. He killed for two reasons, insurance and silence. Years ago, her cousin Henry Larkin owed him money. Old debt, unpaid. A family tie she never forgot. He feared she might speak. He silenced her. Her tone steady, her meaning cruel, her truth cold. Slack slammed the desk. So he buried fraud under murder, and thought us blind. His tone bitter, his eyes fierce, his anger sharp. Dolly shivered, her voice low, her words heavy, so cold-blooded. Her fear plain, Dolly shivered, so cold-blooded. Routine hides murder. The village gathered, faces somber, voices hushed, no gossip, only grief. Mrs. Pym's name whispered. Respect in every tone. She was steady. She was exact. She was trusted. The post office shut. Curtains drawn. Counter silent. Ledger closed. Order gone. Eddie walked alone, his head bowed. The whispers about him ended. Slack cleared his name, but doubt left scars. Nancy stood beside him, her eyes red, her hands restless. She carried guilt. She carried fear. "I left him alone," she said, her voice thin, her face pale. Eddie shook his head. "You didn't kill her." She bit her lip. Tears slipped, her shame heavy, her heart broken, her voice cracked. Mr. Pym stayed inside. He sat in silence, his life emptied, his home hollow, his faith shaken. Dolly Bantry sighed. "She kept the village moving. We will not replace her." Her words sharp, her eyes wet. Her grief, honest. Slack folded his papers. Case closed, but not forgotten. Fraud proven, murder solved. He muttered, "Even rules can't guard against cunning." His tone bitter, his jaw tight, his gaze low. Dr. Haydock shook his head. "All for a trinket, all for money, and a debt, years old." His voice grim, his hands clenched, his anger clear. Marple stood apart, her gaze steady, her words calm. Fraud may trick the system, but not the conscience. Her truth firm. The crowd listened, her tone quiet, her wisdom sharp. No one argued. No one could. Nancy whispered to her, "Will I always feel guilty?" Marple touched her arm. "Guilt fades, but memory teaches." Her words, gentle. Eddie placed his hand over hers. "We will remember her. That matters." Nancy nodded faintly, her lips tight, her eyes wet. The church bell tolled, one slow note, then another, the sound heavy, the moment final. The village dispersed, steps soft, words few, shadows long, silence deep. At the vicarage, night fell. Miss Marple set her shawl aside. She folded her hands. She prayed for Mrs. Pym, her heart heavy. A knock at the door, no visitor seen, only an envelope, plain, unsigned. Miss Marple bent down. She lifted it gently, her eyes narrowed, her breath slowed, her thoughts darkened. Another unsigned condolence card slipped under the vicarage door.